Good evening. Welcome to South Asia Newsline. I'm Surabhi Sharma. Here are the top stories we are tracking for you on Wednesday, the 10th of October. At least 7 killed after train derailment in northern India. Two Afghan army officers get 20 years for spying for Pakistan intelligence agency. And former Bangladesh Prime Minister Khaleda Zia's son sentenced to life in grenade attack case. And now for all the details, at least 7 people were killed and several injured when a passenger train derailed near Raebareli in India's northern Uttar Pradesh province on Wednesday. The Railway Ministry has ordered an inquiry into the incident. At least 7 people were killed and more than 25 injured on Wednesday when a passenger train derailed in Raebareli district of India's northern Uttar Pradesh province. The incident took place in Harchandpur town of Raebareli district as the train was travelling from West Bengal's Malda town to Indian capital New Delhi. Rescue operations were still underway at the site till the last reports came in, and officials said it will take another 24 to 36 hours to clear out the site.
पुलिस और प्रशासन ने मिलकर के बता रहे हैं कि 27 लोगों को यहां से हॉस्पिटल में रेफर किया था, निकालकर पहुंचाया था, जिनमें से 6 डेड बॉडियां यहां मिल चुकी हैं और बताया जा रहा है कि एक की मौत हॉस्पिटल में जाने के बाद हुआ।
The Railway Ministry has ordered an inquiry into the incident. Railway Minister Piyush Goyal announced nearly $6,700 of compensation for the next of the kin of the deceased, nearly $1,347 for the severely injured, and $674 each for all injured passengers. Scores of people on Wednesday came out to cast their vote in the second phase of civic body polls in India's northern Jammu and Kashmir province on Wednesday. The 4-phase polls are historic because they are being held after a gap of 13 years.
Voters turned out in huge numbers on Wednesday to cast their votes in the second phase of the 4-phase urban local body polls in India's northern Jammu and Kashmir province. A massive deployment of security forces has been done to ensure smooth conduct of the elections, which are being held after a gap of 13 years. The second phase of polling covers a total of 384 wards spanning 13 districts across the province, 7 of which are in the Kashmir Valley, with over 1,000 candidates in fray.
अमन और शांति की तरफ आया तो कोई एक कदम अच्छा लग रहा है माशाअल्लाह। ये निशान अमन की तरफ है, तरक्की की तरफ है, जख्मों पर मरहम लगाने की तरफ है, फलाह बहबूद की तरफ है। इंशाअल्लाह जीत कर आऊँगा, अपन करीब देखेंगे।
The 4-phase elections began on October 8 and will end on October 16. The counting of votes will take place on October 20th.
In news from Pakistan, Pakistan's currency plunged by nearly 7% after the government said it would seek emergency bailout loans from the International Monetary Fund. It is expected Pakistan will need a bigger sum this year to avoid a balance of payment crisis and stabilize a wobbly economy.
The Pakistani rupee plunged about 7% on Tuesday in an apparent central bank devaluation, while the stock market snapped a 6-day skid after the government said it plans to seek a bailout from the International Monetary Fund or IMF. The country's 5th devaluation since December, taking rupee losses to about 26%, had been expected and seen as a prerequisite for another IMF rescue package. In 2013, the IMF lent Islamabad $6.7 billion.
अभी पता नहीं हमें आईएमएफ से जो पैसे मिलेंगे उसके साथ 2 और भी बड़े पैकेज आएंगे तो डॉलर तो पाकिस्तान में ज़्यादा हो जाएगा, तो ज़्यादा हो जाएगा तो कम हो जाएगा।
अब इसके जो ज़लज़ला है ये जो इसके असरात और मज़ीद बढ़ेंगे, क्योंकि आप देखिए कि बैनुल अक़वामी मार्केट में आपका जो तेल है उसके प्राइस भी बढ़े हैं, डॉलर भी बढ़ा है, तो फिर अभी इसके यहाँ पे पाकिस्तान में भी इसके प्राइसेस जो हैं वो ज़्यादा होंगे, उसके पूरे इकनॉमी पे असरात पड़ेंगे।
Pakistan's stock market index, sliding since October 1st, shot up nearly 3% on news that Islamabad plans to seek its 13th IMF bailout since 1988. At 3 p.m. local time, the main index was 1.3% higher. Pakistan's Prime Minister Imran Khan had earlier sought alternatives to a second bailout program in 5 years from the IMF as it imposes austerity and limit his visions of an Islamic welfare state.
Moving on, Baloch human rights activists recently highlighted that the China-Pakistan Economic Corridor project has brought more destruction to the resource-rich Balochistan under Pakistan's illegal occupation. The activists blame that the project is illegal and is an attempt to exploit their natural resources.
Baloch activists have accused the China-Pakistan Economic Corridor or CPEC project has brought more destruction to Balochistan, the resource-rich region under illegal Pakistani occupation. The remarks were made during an event in Switzerland's Geneva city recently. The event was addressed by many speakers from Europe, including members of European Parliament, who said that the rise of extremism in Pakistan is also a cause of concern.
Fortunately, CPEC brought more destructions, more army operations. Many villages were razed by Pakistani army, which were coming in the CPEC's route, and it has intensified the situation more worse. And it is not for the Baloch indigenous people there, so they are suffering more than the previous when the China was not there. So it is not bringing any positive change. It's making the situation more worse.
I think it's very clear that the army has been supporting extremist elements, and it is known that they have been providing support to the Taliban in Afghanistan as well.
Indigenous Baloch people term the CPAC, which passes through Balochistan, as illegal and an attempt to exploit their natural resources. Activists have long blamed China and Pakistan are together aiming to change the demography of Balochistan and have been committing atrocities against innocent Baloch people.
In news from Afghanistan, 2 Afghan officers were found guilty of spying for Pakistan's inter-service intelligence on Tuesday. The accused were sentenced to 20 years of jail each.
2 officers from the Afghan army in the eastern Nangarhar province were sentenced to 20 years in prison each on Tuesday after being found guilty of spying for Pakistan's Inter-Services Intelligence or ISI agency. Primary court in the country said evidence showed that Colonel Shah Mahmood and Captain Nazir Ahmed were spies for the ISI. A footage presented in the court showed that the 2 men confessing to have spied for the ISI. However, they denied the charges against them in court.
ماده 158 قانون جزا صرف به تنفیذ 20 سال حبس تنفیذی اعتبار از تاریخ نظارت و توقیفی 3/7/1397 محکوم به جزا باشد.
فعال سره چې اعصاب جوړي مریضم نه ناجوړم نه روغ جوړي هغه خپل ځان شهيدي وهي هر سره خپل ځان سره فکر وکړي ولا که څوک خپل ځان شهيدي وهي یا ولا که خپل دغه باندې خو ما بس زورو ما د دې د مجبوریت د وجنه ما د خبره بلان کړې ده.
According to the court, Mahmood was commander of a battalion of the 2nd Regiment of the Military Corps and Nazirullah was the commander of a battalion squadron in Nangarhar. The presiding judge in the court, after giving the sentence, told the 2 officers to appeal their sentences if they wish to.
More news from Afghanistan. Afghanistan's High Peace Council on Tuesday said it will form a negotiating team for peace talks with the Taliban. This came in reaction to calls by US envoy Zalmay Khalilzad to the government and the Taliban to form such teams.
The Afghan government on Tuesday said that it will establish an inclusive and authorized team of representatives to negotiate with the Taliban for peace process. The statement of Afghanistan's High Peace Council or HPC came after the US Special Representative for Afghanistan Reconciliation, Zalmay Khalilzad's call for government and Taliban to form negotiating team for peace talks. The HPC said that it is working on forming the team and that it would announce the names of delegates soon.
در آینده نزدیک هیئت همشمول مذاکره کننده با صلاحیت دولت افغانستان اعلان میکنه بخیر، اما ما منتظر رهبری طالبان مسلح افغان هستیم تا اینکه به زودی صدای ملت بزرگ افغانستان جواب بدن.
که خلیلزاد امریکایانو د دې لپاره ټاکلي وي چې په افغانستان کې صلح راسي، هغه هم صلح ته خوشبین وي امریکایان، او دویم د امریکایانو پوره نماینده وي، نه په دې صفت باندې چې دی افغاني دي، نو زما فکر باندې بیا به یو فایده ځینې واخیستل.
Khalilzad was on a 2-day visit to Kabul where he met a wide range of stakeholders, including President Ashraf Ghani, representatives of various political groups, journalists, civil society activists and others.
Moving on to news from Bangladesh, son of former Bangladeshi Prime Minister Khaleda Zia, Tariq Rahman was sentenced to life on Wednesday in the 2004 grenade attack that killed 24 persons and injured several, including the then opposition leader and current Prime Minister Sheikh Hasina. A special court in Dhaka also handed death sentence to 19 others, including 2 former ministers in the case. The grenade attack in 2004 targeted a rally of Awami League during Khaleda Zia's tenure, which aimed Hasina's assassination. Devotees across India on Wednesday offered prayers in temples of Hindu goddess Durga to celebrate the beginning of Navratri or 9 Nights festival. The festival is celebrated in the honor of the 9 manifestations of the goddess, which symbolizes the triumph of good over evil. Devotees across India thronged temples of Hindu goddess Durga to mark the beginning of Navratri or 9-night festival on Wednesday. Mata Vaishno Devi Shrine in India's northern Jammu and Kashmir province witnessed heavy rush of pilgrims who offered prayers and sought blessings of the goddess.
बहुत खुशी मिलती है, बहुत आनंद आता है, एकदम आत्मा प्रसन्न हो जाती है माँ का दर्शन करके.
Similar scenes were witnessed in India's western Mumbai city, where priests performed rituals and special prayers before the idol of goddess Durga amid chanting of religious hymns. Navratri is celebrated in honor of the 9 manifestations of Hindu goddess Durga, the goddess of power. Durga is depicted as riding a raging lion, holding weapons in her 10 hands.
बहुत आते हैं, लाखों लोग आते हैं और बहुत उनके भाई श्रद्धा बहुत है, माता जी की पूरी श्रद्धा है इस पर.
Navratri is one of the biggest Hindu festivals in which many people observe fasting and make elaborate offerings to the goddess. It is believed that during Navratri, goddess Durga descends on earth and blesses her devotees with happiness and prosperity. Hockey is nowadays becoming popular among the girls of India's Jammu and Kashmir, where outdoor sports were once considered just for boys. Authorities have arranged for professional training and have been organizing different tournaments to encourage budding female players.
The famous game of hockey is nowadays getting popularity among the girls in India's northern Jammu and Kashmir province, who are taking up the sport with great spirit. Authorities in Srinagar city of the province are encouraging the girls into sport by providing them professional coaching. To provide all possible support, Kashmir Hockey Academy with Sports Council in the province is also organizing different tournaments for the female hockey players.
हम ये कंसेप्ट लेके चले थे कि जो हॉकी हम रिवाइव करें यहाँ पर, ख़ास तौर पर जो गर्ल्स की है. तो पिछले साल हमने एकेडमी शुरू करी थी, उसी के साथ साथ हमने दोनों बॉयज़ एंड गर्ल्स सेक्शन लिए थे. तो उसमें क्या हुआ, हमें बहुत कामयाबी मिली. आज की डेट में हमारे पास कम से कम 300 के करीब बच्चे हैं.
The youth is very talented, but they need a platform and they can shine like stars and walk on the skies.
Girls in Kashmir Valley from past few years are participating in huge numbers in different kind of outdoor sports which were once considered only for boys in the region. The young Kashmiri women are pushing boundaries in every sport from football to martial arts and now hockey, a source of empowerment for them.
Well, that's all we have for you from South Asia this evening. Now our viewers can watch the show on SouthAsiaNewsline.com. You can also visit us on Facebook.com/SAsiaNewsline and follow us on Twitter @SAsiaNewsline. That's all in tonight's edition. We will see you same time tomorrow. Good night.